Welcome back. It's time. You can smell it in the air. It's Origin week, but we've got a little bit to unpack before we talk about. We dive in Origin on Wednesday night, but we've got our round 18 review. I'm not copying Mitch with my clear sunnies, even though we had blue ones last week. But if you can see closely, I've got two black eyes. Mitch thinks I've been the debt collectors have come after me.
Someone's come after you.
I actually had surgery on my eyes. Which is annoying, but it is what it is. I'll cop a bit of shit about the glasses, but hey, that's what we're here for. We're here to get beaten from pillar to post.
You have been beaten from pillar to post. The old chestnut of you need to get something fixed in your eyes. Something's gone down, and by the end of the show, I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
Wait, if I was still on the piss, you could probably say.
Firstly, what do they say? What is it when someone copies you? It's flattery.
First they hate, then they copy.
Hey, don't bring shit up if you don't know what you're going to say.
There's a quote, but I'm telling you now, you're bagging my sunnies. Now you're wearing them. You got your own ones on. So
if you want to rewind this whole conversation,
bruh.
If you want to rewind this conversation, you dickhead, I had the sunnies on way before you, and then you went and bought a pair over in France. In one of our board meetings for Reboot, I had them on and you carried on, and then you went and bought some. So don't start on me.
I don't recall. No, I'll give you credit, and I say this all the time. You are a trendsetter. I'm not the most stylish dude. You are. You've always been. You are Mr. Cool. So I'll give you that.
Oh, right.
So if I was that's
being nice,
that is genuine.
That is being nice. You've jumped the ladder in the cheddar table.
But you're copying my look, and you've 100% been bashed. So I want to find out who the culprit was by the end of the show. But yeah, okay. Cheddar. Fuck, I was happy.
I'd love to tell you. I was
happy with that Broncos game.
Mate, fucking, we'll unpack that. How are you going? What's going on?
Just a good weekend of footy. I haven't got too much away from footy for you since we spoke last time. Just same old life. But I enjoyed watching the games on the weekend, Toddy. Tigers, Old Boys Day at Roosters as well. I'm not sure why you didn't go. Is that because you got bashed?
Why would I go to Tigers Roosters game?
It was a Roosters Old Boy I saw. Old Boys Day.
I don't get the emails.
Dally M player of the year doesn't get an invite.
No, I don't go to things like that, mate.
Anyway,
I've been to a couple of them before.
Tigers pulling the Roosters pants down, then Broncos. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Yeah, tell you what, you're in a nitpicking mood this morning, and if you keep carrying on, I'll start attacking you. Funny, is it?
Yeah, it is.
He's in one of those moods, footy nerds. He's in one of those moods, and I can tell it in his head. Like, see, he's got like half a grin, but he doesn't. And he keeps playing with his headphones when he does this all the time. This is meaning that he's under pressure. He's under the pump. He wants to get away from the camera. Wants to get away from the headphones real quick. So let's keep him here and fucking let's put some pressure on him.
Yeah, come on, bro. You're leading the way.
So what's going on? How'd your cuddleheads go on the weekend? Have you taught him how to tackle yet?
Oh mate, haven't taught him how to tackle or attack. Boys were bad on the weekend. Horrible loss to Wakefield. So I don't travel on game day, as I said. I'm just assisting, helping out casually. It's not an official role, so I don't go to away games. But yeah, it was disappointing. Jeez. Big loss to Wakefield. Wakefield over here's improved. Did you play at Wakefield?
Nah, I nearly went to Wakey. Shaky Wakey. Jacob Miller was at Wakey for 10 years.
The great Jakey Miller. They've done the stadium up. New owner there now. Remember how bad the sheds were and the field? But they've done it all up now. But yeah, Wakey's improved, signed some big players. Actually signed two of the Catalans players, Mike Meakin. Tell you what, talking about good Super League players, he would have been a really good NRL player, Mike Meakin.
Back rower.
Yeah, back row. Plays a bit of middle, lock now. I play with him at Catalans. He'd honestly, big call, completely different player, standard in Super League NRL Origin. But he reminds me of Yowie a bit. You know, he's a good ball player. Good long rangey body, captain of Wakey. Just a good shout out to Mike Meakin. I played in the grand final with him over here. Very, very, very good player. Plays for England. And Tom Johnson, also the winger, played over at Catalans. I think he had an opportunity to go to NRL 5-6 years ago. Got offered a deal, maybe for South. But I don't know how much the money was and that type of stuff. But he's another one that's a standout. But the boys weren't good enough on the weekend, and the club's in a bit of a hole over here, Toddy. So
you
Warrington next week.
You signed Toby Sexton for next year.
Huge signing that for Super League, isn't it? And it's probably worth having a chat about from your perspective more than mine. What do you think's behind that for Toby to come over so early? Is it an opportunity to go to Perth maybe in a couple of years? Because watching just the news outlets, I saw a bloke in the bar podcast talking about Sexton, and it's true. Like, he's been the main centerpiece of why they're in the top 2 this year. Then obviously even now with Galvin and the trying to make both players work. We spoke about it last week. Sexton going a hooker, that type of stuff. They're not playing as good. The second half when they made changes, they sort of unravelled. So what do you think the thoughts behind Sexton?
I can probably see it as a bit of a refresher to go over there. It's probably a 1 year as an option, or 2 years when either a Perth team or the PNG team comes in into the competition. But also, if you look at all the teams in the comp for next year, they've all got their sevens tied up, and money would be tight in a lot of teams in Cat. And to be fair, the way Sexton's gone this year, I think he's with PSM, the All Brothers. I'm sure they'd be asking
them too. Yeah.
I think they'd be asking a fair price tag for Toby. Will clubs have the capacity to pay that kind of money for a 7 this time of the year and for next year? I don't know. I think it's a good move for him to go over to Catlands. But it's a big test also for him too, because as you mentioned, the Catlands aren't going too well. And when the Catlands don't go well, it's hard to play on the back of. Obviously, I've been over there before. I had a pretty good team and at the time, but over the last couple of years, Catlands have been pretty below par. So unless they go sign some big middles and they have a different team, Toby might be playing on the back of a beaten pack every week, and it might improve his game, but also might actually hamper him to come back. Obviously, you look at the players that have gone over to the Super League earlier in their careers: Jackson Hastings, Lachlan Lamb. You've got Blake Green,
Brody
Michael
Croft.
Dobson, Brody Croft. They've gone over there and gone really well, but gone to clubs that were performing at the time. So it's a watch your space for me with Toby. I think obviously a lot of clubs will be watching his progress in the Super League, how they go at the Catlands, because as we know, clubs need sevens over the next few years. Obviously, Renault's got a year left at the Broncos after this year. The Titans were on the lookout apparently, but I'm sure Toby wouldn't go back to somewhere that sent him on his way. There is clubs looking, but definitely it's one of those things. It's a good move, I think, but also it can have ramifications if he doesn't go over there and go well. But I'm sure Toby will go over there and go well. He'll steer the ship over there. So it'll be just one of those things, and obviously you're over there, so I'm sure you'll be doing some work with Toby, which is good for you, and obviously good for his development if you are still doing stuff at the Catlands next year. But yeah, it's definitely a surprise. I thought someone would have picked him up for sure. Obviously there's talk Canberra was looking at, but that's the thing. I think clubs were looking for foils or someone that can back up, and I don't believe Toby Sexton's a backup half at the moment. I think the way he's playing at the Dogs and the way he's played, he's warranted a starting spot and wherever he's at, and that might not be anywhere in the NRL at the moment.
Yeah, it's good to hear your opinion on it. I from my end, I think it's a great move for him. I think, he wouldn't have been a bad move for him staying in an NRL club. I think he needs to get out of the Dogs. It's clearly that Galvin's going to be the starting player. I don't like the idea of him coming on at 9 and playing for 30 minutes. But I think from his end, not only just because I've got a relationship here with the club and I'm over here at the moment, I think it's a great move for him. If there's an opportunity for him in 2 years, you've seen, you just named all those players, Jackson Hastings, Blake Green, Brody Croft had a great year here. There's been so many good players, similar type of players to where Sexton is at his career at that mid-20s that have come over here, blossomed, got a heap of confidence, played in a different style of footy, different culture, and then gone back and had really good NRL careers. So I think it's a smart, calculated move from him and his management team. And it's a ballsy call because it was probably unexpected. But, yeah, as I said, I got my heart, married to a French baby. So and I love the club here. And I'm grateful that he's coming over for the Dragons.
Yeah, it's big news for the Super League, and well done to the Catlins. They always seem to sign players. They usually get us old degenerates and go over and you done
Well, that's
more
the thing
for them.
too,
So
Toddy.
they're getting a younger half for once, which is probably a good thing. He'll go over there and obviously enjoy the weather. I'm not sure if he's got a partner or not, but I think they've getting him at a really good time of his career. He's not in his sweet spot because that's to come for Toby. I think he's in a position in his career where he knows what he wants, and it's a pretty big decision for him to decide to go. As we said, we don't know what suitors he had here in the NRL, but it's a ballsy call. It's a confident call from him, and I believe if he goes over and does well, it could be he could look back on this time over in France and go, who knows, he might go over there and really love it and have success and stay there. He might feel NRL's done for him. He's been sort of put away. He's had his role at the Titans, got moved on, went to the Dogs, and obviously we know how that's gone this year, which I think has been very disappointing, but that's rugby league for you. We all go through it, and I'm sure he'll come through the other side of it, and he'll spend a good time in France.
He's got a very good running game, Sexton, hasn't he? Like, you speak about, because everyone gives him this perception that he's just this solid player. He's led the Bulldogs to the top of the ladder, and he's a quick little runner, isn't he? He's got a fucking very good running game, Toby Sexton. I don't think he gets enough credit.
Yeah, I like it. I think he's been good. I thought that under the pressure he's been under the Dogs this year, one to perform at the start of the year, which he's done, and then obviously all the speculation before the Galvin thing come about. Then when he's come into the team, I think Toby's been one of their better players, having to shuffle positions. There'd be a lot of pressure for him going into games, thinking about when he's going to lose his number 7 jumper, when's he going to hooker, things like that. But he does his role really well, either position he plays. So well done to Toby. And we might as well jump straight into the Bulldogs Broncos, which is a weird game. It's such a weird game. Bulldogs winning 18-0. I thought Bulldogs had plenty of more opportunities to score points. Talking about combinations, I thought Lockie Galvin come up with some good plays, but he come up with some really poor options. I think he's got a lot to work on that left side combination. Obviously, if he does move to 7 in weeks to come, he'll jump over to the right side, and Matt Burton will fill back into the left side of the field. But I thought on the weekend he was very pass happy. He didn't play the long game, but the Broncos, the guy in the number 6 on the other side, Ezra Mam, got booed every time he touched the ball, but he stuck to his guns, and by the end of the game, he just tore the Bulldogs apart. And well done to the Brisbane Broncos, holding strong for... And when I say holding strong, they held strong, I think, not so much because they still leaked tries, but they held strong defensively because Bulldogs had them under so much pressure, and then all of a sudden they get a sniff, and the Broncos bit back and just come home with a wet sail, and their back rowers, Ezra Mam, like I said, Reynolds obviously had a poor first 60 minutes, but his last 20 was the difference, him and Ezra Mam.
Yeah, Karapani there with the try to start things off in that second half. But yeah, 7 errors the Bulldogs had in that second half after a pretty neat first half, like you said. I couldn't believe it. Adam Reynolds, I think he kicked it was about 45th minute, 5 minutes in the second half. He kicked that ball out in the full. They come down, get 2 points, take it to 18-0. And then after that, I think it was pretty much from the 60th minute mark, they scored about 4 tries in the last 15 minutes. So it was all Ezra Mam. I love that play from midfield where he just got early ball and just took the line on. You don't see much of that anymore, do you? But
nah.
You think about
he's got so much speed.
Yeah, you think about passive defence, and you were so good at that because you could get across the field. But if you think about midfield when defence is passive, sometimes the block play invites the defence to come and get you, doesn't it? Where if you just got someone to run like that, I mean, you don't see enough of it, I suppose. I suppose the defence allowed him to do that, but it was good to see. Just burning guys 3-on-3s with footwork and open space. And then the 2 passes. He played the short ball for the first try, and then the second one, that double pump. Same shape, but 2 different options. And
I like that shape from the Broncos where obviously these usually got the middle playing out the back to a half, and the half plays out to another half. But it was Reynolds jumping up first receiver, two middles on the outside, so the outside C and D defender, out the back to Ezra, and instead of having the block play, he's got the double lead, so inside, outside centre, inside, outside half, and you can hit short or long, and they've done it perfectly both times. There's always a risk of getting caught up in the defensive line for the two lead runners if you don't hit them, but their lead runner's done a really good job, and I thought Xavier Wilson, Brendan Piakora, obviously Piakora had the head knock early in the game, had the HIA come back on, thought he was really good in that last patch, but Xavier Wilson in the front row, he was...
Fuck yeah.
He's going to be... He's been playing back row, which is... I thought he's been really good for him, because he gets to watch what Payne and what Carrigan and then blokes do in front of him, but this week he gets the opportunity due to Origin, and it just shows that how much growth he's got, obviously watching these guys in front of him in years to come. Obviously, he's going to mature into that position as a front rower, and he's got a really good, bright future ahead of him, Xavier Willison.
Kobe Heverington was great too. I think with obviously Carrigan, Payne, Haas out, they needed those guys to step up, didn't they? And it was the young back rower, Karapani, and those middles we just spoke about that kind of got on the result in the end. Obviously, Ezra and Reno were the difference in that back end. But, with the rep players they had out, they needed them to step up. And I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe if you had to watch it half time or the first, besides 20 minutes to go, they weren't even looking likely. To be honest, the first half, they were terrible. The Broncos were terrible that first half. Horrible, errors, clunky. And it was just Ezra. But that's what he does. And you think about since he's come back in. And we speak about Tigers, obviously. We speak about them a bit later, how they've found their groove, if that's what you can call it. A bit of an upset. We spoke about how we felt like Tigers have been going better than what we thought. But Broncos have got nothing but criticism. But they've won their last 4 now.
Yeah.
4 in a row now, and they're a chance. They've got a pretty good run home. If they can get their players back after Origin, they're a chance of finishing top 4.
Well, they got Titans this weekend into a bye, I'm pretty sure, the Broncos.
Titans this week.
Titans this week into a bye. I want to talk to you about the situation the Dogs have got on their hands at the moment. We just touched on Toby Sexton leaving the Super League, but there's still a lot of football to play at the Bulldogs this year. If you're Serraldo, do you put Galvin now back to the bench? Obviously, Origin players return after Wednesday night, or do you start the change now? Obviously, Toby's announced this week he's going to be at the Catlands next year. Do you start making the change now, or do you stick with what you got and save your season with what you got?
I stick with Sexton at 7, and that's from no agenda of, the Dragon signing, of being over here. Just literally off, I reckon their best style of footy is Sexton at halfback. It's been proven all year. The last couple of weeks, they've been clunky. Everyone's saying it. From my own point of view, watching it, it looks clunky when they're. I don't like Sexton going to 9. He's either, and I said it last week, he's either in the team or he's not. And same goes with Galvin. It's one or the other. And for me, it's Galvin missing out. Or if it's Galvin as a 14, he comes on as a lock, or I don't know what his role is.
That's what Bailey Hayward's role is.
Well, that's the thing. They've got 3 of them all doing the same thing, which affects their defence. Against the Penrith Panthers the other week, they lost the game, not off the back of Sexton individually, but going to 9, smaller body, out of position, carrying too many small bodies on the field and throwing off the system that works. It lost them the game against Penrith, and it'll lose them the game in the big games back end of the year, in my opinion. So they've got to pull Galvin's obviously the long-term plan. He's got his 4-year deal. He's going to be there for the future. Sexton's out the door in 8 weeks. Give Sexton the reins to the end of the year. See what he can do with the team. They play better with him for now. I just think Galvin, even on the weekend, and it's his greatest strength, but also his biggest weakness where he is at the moment because he's a young half. He comes up with too many errors. He went down that left edge, I think it was.
I like that he continues to make errors, but I like
that. I like that, but I don't think they can afford to have that now.
No, you can't afford to have that at this time of the year. No. Especially with where they're at and the way they were playing the long game. I think the Bulldogs score their tries off their strengths. So, by putting pressure on teams, coming up with the set plays, They're not a team that's a flashy team that scores these ridiculous, outlandish tries. They have a system, the way they score their tries and the way they score their points. It's all on the back of a breakdown of something happening where Galvin was trying to make it happen, pushing the pass, which obviously what they're not used to, and that's why you come up with errors. Reid Mahoney's obviously signed at the Cowboys from 2026 or 3 or 4 year deal, they're saying. So obviously the domino effect is still happening from the Galvin signing.
Why is it a domino? Just to go off that, Reid Mahoney's another one that we just spoke about before the show. I'm confused because he was their best player 2 years ago. Talked about playing Origin. If I recall, Gus and that were pumping his tyres saying he'd be a good Origin player. I think it was Gus. This is a couple of years ago. He's their best competitor and their best defender at 9. Unless I'm missing something, who's the replacement and how is he a replacement for Galvin?
Well, he's not really a replacement Galvin. It's about what happens to they got blokes like Bailey Hayward that wants to start, I'd say. So he'd have to, looks like he'll be starting 9 unless they've got a 9 coming through. But I'm sure Bailey Hayward now moves to 9 and they open that spot on the bench for a 14. But I don't know.
Hayward play 80 at 9?
I haven't seen him play enough. I'm sure he could. Could. He's played 80. He's played 80 in lower grades. He's obviously, I don't know if he's was ever a 9. I thought he was a 13 or a 6. But obviously, it's above our pay grade to decide that. But I'm sure it's been a domino effect of the Galvin signing. Yeah, but unless there was in the talks before that, there was plans to move someone like Toby to and move him to be as a 9 moving forward, and he has decided to move on. I'm not too sure, but obviously that was the news this week that Reid had gone. Obviously, some horrible news again. Obviously, we spoke about Jackson Hastings' mum last week. Horrible news out of the Queensland camp yesterday that Cameron Munster's dad had passed away. Billy in the team gave a message to the Munster family. So I guess from us too is Cam, hope you're doing okay and in a tough time. And there's talk that you'll be coming back into camp on Wednesday to play Wednesday night. I think this is way more bigger than the game of rugby league. I just hope you're doing well and your family and you're with your loved ones. Very sad news from everyone here at our 6s and 7s.
Yeah, likewise, obviously. Shocking news, mate. We're thinking of you.
Over to our next game was the Canberra Raiders 28, beat the Dragons 24. The Raiders continue to find climb their way to the top of the ladder. They're on the top now, 2 points clear above the Bulldogs on 30 points with a bye up their sleeve and a really good run home, 5 home games for their last 8 at Canberra Stadium, which is massive bonus for the Canberra Raiders. Their star fullback, Ko Weeks, a bloke that wasn't wanted at Manly. Obviously, the reasons why he wasn't wanted at Manly because Turbo, but he's found a home at Canberra. Took some time to get there, but now he's found some form. 3 tries on the weekend, but big mention to the Dragons. They fought hard. They tried to claw it back. I thought they were dudded on a pass early in the game. You probably can't say it's the difference at the end of the game because it was so early in the piece, but I believe it was a try. It would have put them first on the scoreboard, so the game could have been different the way the Raiders approached it, but they got pinned for a forward pass, which was a tough one. I've seen a lot more forward this year from them. I like that shape. They play down the right side of the field. They're usually dominant left side, but the way they're playing, Kyle out the back with Flano with a nice tip early, finds his centre and then tips it on to Salone. Moses Sully tips on to obviously draws lots of defenders. Moses is a big body. He's got the left hand fend with the right hand carry, but he tips it on this time to Salone. Salone gets a double later in the game. But yeah, the Dragons fought hard, but the Raiders, they continue to find a way to win. I was listening to a stat that they've won 6 or 8 games by 6 points. Dragons on the other end have lost 6 or 8 games by 6 points. Raiders have won by 4 games by 2 points. So that shows why they're winning games when they need to, where they're previous years they probably would have lost. So well done to Ricky down there. He come out and went into bat for Kyle Flanagan, which was... He's been copping a little bit of stick because only a year and a half ago Ricky was in the media for hammering Jaden Salmon about the weak gutted dog incident. But I think that's the good thing about Rick. He's a passionate. Obviously, he's got a good relationship with Kyle and Shane. He coached with Shane at the Cronulla Sharks. Who just had time. They're friends. So like her mates do, you stick up for them. But well done, Sticky.
Yeah, I loved it. It didn't make sense in the end because Sticky said, it's all right for home fans to boo and throw cans at the kicker. And then he was talking about bullying, so I didn't really quite get it. But knowing Sticky and both of us, with the respect we got for Sticky, he's just, as you said, he's backing his mate up. He's backing his mate's son up. He's now got a son playing as well. And I loved it. It's good for a rival coach, especially when they've got a relationship with someone to come out and stick it up the media a bit. At the end of the day, we all compete against each other and you come and go to different clubs, but it's the players. You like to think you're sticking with your teammates and your players over media, and I enjoyed it. We're now in the media talking about it, but I enjoyed him getting stuck in putting the media in their place a bit. So how good. And Flano, it was good to back him up. He's been going all right, Kyle. Last 2 weeks he's played well. We spoke about him just playing solid. He finished off that last try off Sloane there. As you said, they're right edge. They were very right edge dominant. I was going to ask you a question. Do you think they were more right edge dominant this week because Valentine Holmes isn't there? Like, was it a preconceived thing, or do you think it's more... Because all we've seen all year is them shift into that left edge, and then whenever he's gone to rep footy, they've found themselves on the other. Are they smart enough to be doing that, or do you think it's just a coincidence? Because
I think
it worked on the weekend.
I think it's a change up in their attack. I think that's a lot down to Kyle. I think he's got his hands on the ball a little bit more. He's playing a lot more squarer, which opens up that side of the field. They were very lateral that side, or they were very lateral to bring blokes under, but now they've found a space where they can play direct, square at the back, and giving Moses Suli some time with the ball in his hands. They do it well coming out of yardage, give Moses Suli a lot of ball early, and he finds a lot of space. So the obvious thing to do is give him the ball early closer to the line with a bit of space, and he draws so many defenders because you can't defend him one-on-one because he's got the ability to skip in, skip out, and they usually bring him back through the middle, but now they've found a role, and that's probably on the back of coaching or Kyle just feeling his groove on that side of the field. So I think he's been great. Obviously, he scored a couple of tries the last few weeks. He's playing direct. He's doing his job, and I think he needs to be comfortable with that. Like, he doesn't need to set the world on fire. I think the Dragons are a good enough team around. He's got good enough players for him to not have to showpiece every week, just to be that person that gets the team around the park and get into positions that's going to give them chances to score tries. And we know what they can do on the left side. They show what they can do on the right side. Now it's about putting it all together and being steely in defence and stopping teams from scoring points, because we can see that they can score points, but they concede so many themselves.
And that's hard for a halfback too. It's easy to blame the half, isn't it? But when your team's... We speak about momentum shifts. When your team's not good in momentum swings and you're leaking a lot of points, it falls back on the half a lot of the time, which isn't fair. And as you said, he's not probably the greatest game manager, Kyle, but he's solid at what he does. If his team can compete, keep him in the contest, he plays really good footy, and he's had a good couple of weeks. I thought Canberra were I thought their forwards, they had a heap of metres through the ruck. Their outside backs and middles, a lot of them got over 100 metres with the ball. I just thought it wasn't until they opened their game up a bit later in the game, started using Tomoko, Savage, as you said, Weeks, that they started to cause some hassle. Obviously, the skipper didn't play too many minutes. I think he only played about 30 minutes. And then obviously having Papali out as well with Origin probably hurt them a little bit. I thought they were in second gear, sort of hurt themselves, had a fair few 7 tackles. There was a fair few uncharacteristic errors. But as you just spoke about, what was it? They've scored 6 points. They've had close wins in 7 of their games, so six or so points to win games.
They've come from behind to win games.
Dragons, on the other hand, almost the size down the bottom of the ladder, aren't getting those jobs done. So they've just got an unbelievable confidence at the moment. Even if they're a little bit off, even if they're kicking 7 tackles, even if their errors are up and their completions aren't as good week to week, they can win from behind, they can win from tight games. And I just reckon I say it every week, it's their forwards, but their outside backs are so good. I reckon they got the best outside backs. I've been saying it for 2 years. I remember when we were even in Triple M last year when we were doing the games, and they weren't going as well last year, but their outside backs were the best young. I kept saying their outside backs are the best young outside backs in the game, and I stick by it. I'd back their outside backs over anyone else in the game.
Is it there with their year to win the competition?
I think so, yeah. I think so. Well, Canberra, since you played there, they've always been Melbourne's bogey team. They've got a side to beat Penrith. They've got a side to beat the Dogs. It's theirs to win, for sure.
What is it, the key to open up Sloan? There's talk that he's been offered to move elsewhere. There's talk Melbourne Storm are interested. Now the Panthers have put their hand up to be in the race to sign Terrell Sloan. What is it with him? Where's his best position? I like him on the wing. Obviously, I like him at fullback, but I think he's a winger in those two clubs if he was to go to a Melbourne Storm or your Penrith Panthers. What do you think it does for his career if he goes to a club like them?
I reckon it'd be the perfect thing. Yeah, Melbourne would be the best thing for him. I reckon the thing that holds him back is he's obviously... I don't know him as a trainer or around the group, but when he was playing fullback, he was out of position a lot, and that was the biggest criticism on him. And he wasn't a in the moment Gutho type player, effort player in the game for 80 minutes, competing on every play defensively and in attack. That was his. For me watching, I remember there was a game against Newcastle he played. I specifically remember, and Newcastle, I think Jack Cogger had a field day in the wet with his kicking game. He got dropped the week after because he was out of position nearly every kick. And I think that was a couple of years ago. But I remember after that thinking that he's got a long way to go from a positional point of view and that awareness and competing in every play like the great fullbacks. But as wing on the wing, you can sort of get away with that, having that individual brilliance. He's a great finisher. He's got class. Speed, but there's no doubt he could develop into a really great fullback. He's still young, and I think he's an awesome player. But yeah, I think a new system might give him that, ability to grow into that competitive 80-minute player because he's fucking good.
Oh, he's outstanding. He's a try scorer. He's a great finisher. He's a big body. He carries well. I think he'll do well at wherever he lands, but he's got a bright future ahead of him. He just needs to find that consistency and continue to work on those small parts. Over to our next game, the Storm 26 over the Cowboys 20. It was another game where a team got out to a lead and Cowboys come back late. Drinkwater, Clifford. I thought Duffy was really good for Cowboys in the weekend, gets his chance through Origin. He started the year at the Cowboys. He's been playing reserve grade. Gets an opportunity through Origin. I thought he'd done really well. Got him around the park. I thought him and Clifford combined really well. But the Storm, Eli Katoa again comes up for the outstanding kick chase and comes down with the ball and scores a great try. There was some scary moments for the Storm. I thought Cowboys were going to come back and have it. They lose Pappenhausen and he pulls out of this 17 late before the game, and then Mahoney. Yeah, Nick Mahoney. Sorry, Nick Mahoney at fullback. 2 tries. Prince goes back to his old position, we can say it now, at fullback and done a really good job to score 2 late tries for the Melbourne Storm. But yeah, I thought the Cows showed a bit of fight for a team that hasn't been going well. But the Melbourne Storm were just too good again.
Yeah, Jerome Hughes, Nick Meaney, Drinkwater, captain for the first time, I think it was. But he had a huge game. Obviously had that error.
Yeah. Sort
of didn't attack that kick and led to points for Melbourne, which he would have liked his time back there. But honestly, every game we speak about Cowboys, we talk about Scotty Drinkwater. He's one of the best players in the comp, in my opinion. Like, as far as brilliance and
when he's on,
assists and tries, and he's on a lot. Like, the team's obviously up and down. They've got a massive issue in leaking points, but he's one of the best players in the comp as far as just an out-and-out natural footballer. Support play-wise, assists, that last pass, we talk about Latrell and that ability to throw a 3-on-2 or, ice the passes out the back as a fullback. Fuck, he's one of the best. Drinkwater.
We speak about it a lot that if he plays a 9 out of 10 performance, and it's usually on the back of good go forward or a good momentum when he plays really well anyway. So that means they're on the front foot, and they win those games. So he's an outstanding player. He can do things other players can't do that he can only do. It's just about coming up with that consistency and getting the team around him for him to be able to deliver that week in, week out, because he does have those lapses. Obviously comes up the error, doesn't take the kick. But yeah, and there's no doubting that he's an outstanding player. He just needs to find to happen every week in every play.
Cliffo too, looked like young Todd Carney punching that hole. Fuck, he hit that hole well.
Mate, he's an outstanding ball runner, Cliffo.
He is. You just want to see it more often with Cliff. He's got. If you saw him, he must have been a great junior player through the juniors.
Yeah.
Like he's built like Brad Fittler. He's got the best kicking game. His bomb is unbelievable. I played with the Cliffo and you did as well. He was hitting the best torpedoes nearly I've played with. We played with a lot of good players. Torpedoes and athleticism. When he's confident, that's his biggest thing. His confidence can go up and down a little bit. When he's on, he's a good ball runner. Good player. That hole he hit though to set Drinky up.
How did he go in the Super League when he was over there?
He was up and down. That's just been his issue, hasn't it? Just a bit of confidence, I think, with Cliffo. But it's probably his best consistent year he's had in NRL this year, I reckon, for a while. He's been playing some good footy. Obviously, he's been in and out of the squad, which has been the theme for his whole career, really. But he's played some good footy. I remember watching a game earlier in the year, was it Canberra when I was with you up in Queensland? I think he got a double. And
well, there's talk Canberra's trying to sign him. If you're a club, would you invest in him?
Yeah, I would now with the way the depth, that second tier sort of half, where if you haven't got the elite half, someone like a Cliffo, if you can get him confident, can do a good job.
Storm, what about Big Now? How do you stop Nelson in the line? It's unstoppable. It's like cheat code, like Jonah Lomu rugby. It's crazy how...
Maybe it was Jonah Lomu rugby. You had that little dude that used to fucking run around everyone. And you have Jonah Lomu just walking. Mate, he's unbelievable. Great guy too. Met him a few times. But they used to, my last year I played, they used to put him on the scrum. On
Big
yardage or
Nelson.
midfield.
Yeah.
He'd come off the scrum and you'd be at 3, you'd be the split scrum from the middle of the field, you'd be at the A and he'd just fucking sprint at you.
He skittles so many defenders in that game. He makes a difference every time he carries the ball. It'd be just be a joy to play on the back of, and I'm sure they have plans and plays in place for once he carries what comes next after. But yeah, it's a massive cheat code.
Purdue, he's outstanding.
Jackson Purdue showed some speed once he got in the clear. Looked like he's about to get caught and then just puts the burners on. I think they've tried and tested him at 6. I thought he's probably showed more in the centres. It gives him a little bit more freedom, a little bit more space to do his thing. I think he'll develop into an NRL 6. There's a lot of debate around that because they played really well in the lower grades at 6. That they'll go and translate that straight in the first grade. It's completely different. The line speed, the pressure from the inside, the way the plays come, the ruck, everything's completely different. So it's just because you do it in younger grades, it doesn't always transition into the playing first grade. So that's a big thing for young kids listening, is that if you do it well, you got to continue to do it better as you get older, because it comes a lot faster and quicker when you get to the next stage, which is which everyone's vying for. So I always tell young kids that what you're doing here is really good, but to go to the next level, you have to do it supreme every time. You can't. There's no room for error. And I believe that's the difference in some teams. The pass out in front, pass out the back to out in front is just that small bee stick in a pass that can make the difference in big moments, even in small moments.
That's such good advice, Toddy, because we heard, obviously, Kieran Vaughan, our latest interview, Adam Reynolds, obviously, Nath Cleary, but they spoke about their extras, didn't they? They spoke about the extras that they've done as kids and passing game and the video that they do. And like you just said, you can be a big ball running 6 or a guy that's a standout in the juniors, but if you don't learn all those little intricacies and subtle skills and really good catch pass, you get isolated in the big time, don't you? So good advice.
Over to our next game, which was my cheddar of the week. Unfortunately, my cheddar lost, and I've found myself behind on the leaderboard. Mitch Pearce takes the lead. Roosters 28, lose to the Tigers 30. The three brothers, Latu, Sione, and Samuela Fainu, all scored tries. The first time in NRL history that three brothers have scored a try in the same game. The Tigers got the jump on the Roosters early, but Roosters come home with a wet sail, almost clinched it. Mark comes up with some individual efforts again. But I know he was on a beaten team, but James Tedesco was outstanding again. Mate, it was so close. Obviously, he'd be on the back page of the paper today if the Roosters clinch that game, come back and win. They lose by 2 points, but he just needs to be spoken about how good he's going this year. I listened to Fretz last night saying that he believes Tedesco will win the Dally M by a ridiculous margin this year. I think he'll have a fair few people chasing him. We speak about a guy a lot on here, Sione Katoa. I think we'll be running down the court. Metcalf would have been until his injury. But I'm sure Tedesco will be there looking for his third or fourth Dally M will be.
Yeah?
He's won two, I'm pretty sure.
I'll tell you what, I reckon Tedesco, and I said it when I played with him and watching him, I reckon he's the best I've ever seen. And obviously Thurston, Joey, Lockyer, all the greatest, was so good at regardless of how the game was going, whether you're down by 30 or you've had 4 or 5 errors, they'd always stay in the moment and not let the result or the game affect them. But I think Teddy's the best I've ever seen at it. When he was at the Tigers, in a side that was struggling, he'd always play well. Like, he'd always play great. And then when he's gone to a Roosters squad that's obviously an elite team, the comps he's won and everything that he does, like, even this year, he's gone into a side where he's captain. He could have had excuses. I don't have senior players around me. I don't have this. He just blocks all that shit out, doesn't get caught up with any emotion. And regardless of how the game's going, he's always at his best. And it's worth noting because we know how hard that is. I struggle with that at times. You know, you take on the emotion of results and ups and downs. Every player does. But the greatest, those, you know, we speak about, Thurston was one of the best at that. You know, they all were, Joey and Lockie, but I think Teddy's up there in the top 3 of all time at doing that. So I just wanted to say that. Because, fuck, he just,
100%,
regardless, doesn't matter what the situation of the game is, his body language, his emotions, or his will to win never changes. He's never flustered. And he's just turned into a great captain there. For what he's done this year, him and Robbo, with the way that the squad is and the situation they're in. You know, you saw young Rodwell debuting, all these young boys that are debuted. He's got every excuse this year to be like, it's too hard, or I don't know how to handle these changes. I've come from all these senior players, but he's just fucking led from the front. And like you said, Fletch said he's going to chance of winning the Dally M, and he'll definitely be the Roosters' best player this year. And I think he's won about 6 of them.
Fuck.
Like he's a fucking legend. So it's a good shout out to Teddy.
Great shout out, but a massive shout out to the Tigers. It showed on the weekend there's life after Lockie Galvin, do you believe, with Latu Fanau, the way
and
he played.
And
Dewey, obviously, yeah, Dewey. Okay, there's a question. Jerome Luai comes back from Origin next week. Is it Dewey or Latu Fanau in that 7?
It's a good question. No, in the 7, it's far now. In the 7, I like Dewey as a 6, but
you can't,
I love Dewey as a player.
7 or 6, we do speak about that. There is.
I love Fanu as a half.
Yeah, I thought he was outstanding the weekend. Played direct, took the line on, showed he's at speed. Obviously, then when you've got your combination with your 2 brothers, it also gives that little bit more oomph or a little bit more want, I guess. I know everyone goes out there to win, but when you're playing for your brothers, I think they've got a bright future with those guys there. They just need to find out how it all connects together. And as we always speak about them as a defensive team. They win by 30. They score 30 points on the weekend, league 28. Sometimes that's not enough. But I thought on the weekend it was a positive sign. They always seem to, when their chips are down and they need to find a win, I've seen some of the players come out after the win yesterday saying that was good for them and also for the coach. So well done to Benji and the Tigers to find a win yesterday. It's a massive win for them.
Especially the pressure they're under, Toddy. Like,
the pressure they're under. obviously they don't want to get the wooden spoon again. They would obviously. It's not a focus, but it'd be in the back of their mind. There's no way we're getting it again. Let's continue to get wins and push away from the bottom of the ladder. But it was a positive sign for me to see that there's life after Lockie Galvin for the Tigers.
Yeah, there's so many standouts. Charlie Staines' first try. Daniel Tupou for me for Roosters. Just to go back to Roosters quickly. Tupou's in the air. You talk about Teddy being one of the greatest competitors. Besides Israel Folau, who's been better than Tupes? Day in, day out, week in, week out, big games, grand final. Who's been better in the air than Tupou?
We can nearly say Tupou's better because he's been in the game longer than Folau. I think we talk about Folau and there's been a highlight reel of Folau going up and doing that catch 1 or 2 times. Daniel Tupou's done it over 100 times.
He's the most capped ever. At the Roosters.
Most capped ever. He scored nearly the most. He's scored the most tries as a Rooster. And a lot of them from that big leap going up, taking it over the top of his opposing winger, scoring tries. And then there's a bloke inside him, Marky Mark, just doing unbelievable things. Get him one-on-one, see you later. You can't stop him. That's another cheat code. Let's keep him in the game.
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. We had those couple of moments, and then right at the end there, he sort of thought he was going to come up with something again that last set when they were playing do or die. Just throw Marky Mark the ball. It was like under 10s. Just get him the ball. Sort of didn't eventuate, but it was a huge win from the Tigers. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. A bit like the Broncos game, the Bulldogs-Broncos game where it was just a blowout. I couldn't believe what I was watching early on, especially on Old Boys Day there. Tigers situation they're in, but yeah, like you said, the 3 brothers led the way, especially with their players out. They're playing without a spine. Everyone spoke about the Roosters' lack of players playing with their rep stars out, but mate, the Tigers are the ones that would have the excuse. They had pretty much their whole spine out, and as you said, all of them stepped up. Had a huge game. Obviously, the task now is for the Tigers to back that up. I thought the best player of the game was young Rodwell nearly scoring in the corner, and they had 4 or 5 players in cover defence to smack him over the sideline, which looked like a certain try. That's the video session that Benji needs to be showing on Monday is highlights of that. Don't worry about the moments because they got so many good moments. You spoke about the Farnell brothers, Charlie Staines, Dewey, all these guys. They come up with footy, and we spoke about that. We've been their biggest fans this year around their style of footy at times, but the video session is, and I'm sure Benji will, but the video session's around effort areas and that try saver. There was 4 guys in the picture taking young Rodwell over the sideline. That's the Tigers we need to see week to week.
It's a big loss for the Roosters in the context of where they are on the ladder. They would have went into their own spot an 8th if they had won that game yesterday, but they still find themselves, I think it's 9th or 10th with the Sharks.
9th is right, yeah.
9th. Manly's now 8th, which is surprising to see where they were a few weeks ago, but it shows if you can get a couple of back-to-back wins like the Broncos have, they find themselves 5th or 6th at the moment, that the ladder is so jam-packed at the moment. So it's a big win for the Tigers, but also a massive loss for the Roosters in the context of where they are on the ladder. So they'll be looking to bounce back this week also. Our final game of the weekend was Manly 26 over the South Sydney Rabbitohs 12.
30-12.
Sorry, 30-12. I scribbled it down wrong. 30-12. We talk about Manly's left side attack. They move the ball, but the strength on their right side now is becoming stronger now with Turbo on the right side. Obviously, Garrett gets a double. Tommy gets a double. Cherry, they're still missing Ola Kawatu, but when he comes back in, they become an instant threat down that right side of the field now. What do you see from Manly? Do you like with where they're at? As we said, we believe Tommy's best suited at fullback, but they're winning games. He's scoring tries at centre. Is it a masterstroke?
Yeah, well, we've said it the same. We're Manly's biggest fans as well when they're on. We've said that. I think we said at the start of the year, when they get quick play the balls and they're over the advantage line, they're the best team to watch and they're one of the best teams in the comp at it, probably behind Melbourne, at playing advantage line footy with Cherry Evans, Turbo. You just spoke about Garrick. He's one of the most underrated players in the comp. I think last time on the podcast you spoke about him being a franchise player or a good signing for one of these new clubs. Like, he is such a good player. He obviously got the double on the weekend, but the try Cherry scored, that midfield shape that they play, years ago they used to play it off, well, they still do a bit, they used to play it off Jake Trbojevic. Cherry would get across field, does his little skip, burns a few, and then they'd find space on edges. You know, no one does it better than Manly when they're winning the ruck. And I just thought we had a suspicion they were going to blow them off the park. Home game, they love playing at home. Their success rate there is pretty good. It was Old Boys Day, I think. I saw heaps of the old guys on social media from Manly, so they were going to be up for the contest. And I thought they played great. We spoke about Turbo getting involved on both sides of the field. You spoke about his threat on the right. He obviously got the 2 tries, but he found himself on the left on, I think it was Garrick's first try. He came around as a second fullback. So we spoke about that. He's done that in Origin at times. I think we'll see that more and more. I reckon we'll eventually start seeing him being involved in that play and then chasing kicks around the ruck, or as we spoke about last week, those barge over tries, getting him out of dummy half. He'll keep growing in that role, but if he plays his best, Cherry plays his best, and their forwards aim up, the position they're in on the ladder, which once again we speak about the confusion, surprised me. I thought they were going and out. Everyone was bagging Cherry. Everyone spoke about their lack of consistency. I thought they were gone, but they're game on, and if they can find a spring in their step over this next few weeks, they're every chance of getting in that top 6.
Well, they get Ola Kawatu back in the next few weeks. They're all of a sudden they're full strength. They'll be hard to beat if they can play the way they've been playing. As you said, we always question their consistency and how they back it up week in, week out. Big return for the South Sydney.
Toddy.
Cole's good. He's fast. Comes back through the middle. We talk about change of direction and bringing blokes back through and playing to your team's strengths, not other teams' weaknesses, and trying to get on the outside of players. Because when you think Cole is straight away, fast, agile, let's burn him on the outside, get him back through the middle, testing the middle defenders, lateral movement and stuff like that. He's so fast and explosive. Talk about fast and explosive. The Cheese made his return from his ACL yesterday, first time in South Sydney colours. I thought he started really well, had a few shots at the line, almost scored a try. Wasn't the nicest finish for him with a tackle in the game. He's looking at 6 to 8 weeks on the sideline. Also, he's come out and said to back off on Lodge. He said there was an accident. He didn't mean to do anything, to leave him alone, which is really good from Cheese. But I'm sure the match review committee will have different to say.
Yeah, disappointing for him, obviously. First game back, was it in 300 days or something, his first game? He hasn't played for a long time, so don't know if it was underprepared or it's just, it was a bad knock, wasn't it? But South, they're disappointing, South. Obviously, I don't know if it's the perception of the team because it's Wayne Bennett and it's probably maybe where they should be. Like, if Latrell doesn't play, Cody's injured, obviously had Jack Whiten back on the weekend, but maybe it's just, we spoke last week about the Titans and Tigers. Are they just where they should be, like with where they're at as a club?
I believe that's where they're at. Obviously, when they're back to full strength, you've got Cody Walker, you've got Whiten, you've got Latrell, you've got all their players. I think they're a different outfit, fully fit, firing all cylinders. They can be above where they are, but I think they're where they're meant to be. And you have your good weeks and your bad weeks, and it shows that if you can have a little bit of consistency in getting back-to-back wins. Like, I watched the Broncos play against Manly. They got wiped off the park, and I walked away from there going, there's no way they'll play finals. And now they're sitting 5th on the ladder from 4 wins. Like, it's just so tight at the moment. And
can you see South going on that kind of roll, but I personally can't.
I don't think so, just because they're swapping and changing with positions. They've got too many players in and out. I think New South Wales will win the Origin series. Will be a massive buzz for Latrell to come back and try and finish the year strong, but also it could be a negative too. Won an Origin series, that's me done for the year. But they've got the team to be able to put pressure on teams because they've showed that at the start of the year. That they can match it with the better teams, but they'd have to go on a pretty good run to chase down the 8, I reckon, because the team's got a double.
He was good, wasn't he? Runs the ball well. Big, strong. How long's he been in there? Am I missing something? He's been around for a couple of years now, hasn't he? Jeez, he goes good.
3 years.
3 years,
Yeah, he come in through the middle. When he first come in, everyone was like, when he had a headgear when he first come in, I don't know if he had it on the weekend, he come in and was liking him a bit like Cam Murray, the way he played through the middle. So he played on an edge on the weekend and done a really good job.
He played a lot of lock, didn't he, at the first couple of rounds as that ball player?
Yeah.
And he looked good. Yeah, but he looked strong on the weekend. And
after that, South said 16th on the ladder.
16th?
Yeah, that doesn't feel right.
For me, it does. I don't think
this is where the ladder's at.
I reckon they've been awful. I reckon they've been horrible.
It's crazy.
From the perception that we had of them, that's probably why I mentioned it. I think it's the whole Wayne Bennett presence, and you sort of expect, and then having Cody and them at their best. Obviously, Cody's been in and out. He's getting a little bit older in the tooth, and it just hasn't clicked for him this year. I feel like they've just been very underwhelming, and as I said, maybe it's just where they're at. They've had one of those years where it's a bit of a turnover. They're going to need some... Yeah, they've got an ageing roster too. Well, Cody's only probably got... Has he got another year, Cody?
Yeah, he just re-signed one more, I think.
Yeah. But they need someone else to back him up. Like, obviously, even if he plays, he's been one of the great sixes, but he's getting older, and your body gives in when you get older. So, obviously, they had Lewis Dodd there, but there's talk he's getting out, isn't he, or moved on back to Super League. Or so they need some depth in and around those positions, I think, for next year. Maybe Gabe can play.
Huh?
Maybe you can play Gabe.
Been a while since I played, mate.
Oh, it wouldn't be a round 18 wrap-up without talking about the big game this Wednesday night for State of Origin. New South Wales v Queensland, the decider. In Sydney, no better place to play rugby league with a packed-out crowd and sold-out crowd, blue everywhere. How are we going? Are we excited? And who's going to win, Mitchell?
Blues. Of course, the Blues, Toddy. I can't wait for it. Predictions. Well, I'll tell you what, Queensland's going to be emotional. Obviously, the horrible news we've just heard. It's going to be an interesting storyline over the next few days, how the great Cameron Munster, A, whether he plays, and how B, emotionally stable he is. Once again, I want to send out my condolences to the great man. What a horrible time for him and his family. So if he can get himself up for the game, it's going to be a huge effort emotionally. But knowing that Queensland spirit, and they always speak about it, and even though I believe Blue, we say it all the time, we've got to give them credit. They do get up for each other. They do build off storylines and emotion, and there's no doubt in the respect that he has, it's going to be do or die, but they're going to be doing everything to do it for their little mate. And they've obviously got Papali back, the father figure. I'm just giving you. I'm going to get the Blues in a second, so relax. But I'm just giving you what we're up against. It's going to be a tidal wave, even though it's at home. It's going to be a tidal wave, and they're going to be emotional. And we know what they're like when they're in that situation. So, but in saying that, we spoke about the refs. I can't wait to watch this one to critique this fucking ref, because we need him, brother, and I can't see it being how it was before. So if we get even penalty count, I've kept saying I feel like a broken record, but if we get an even penalty count, which I'm convinced we will. Laurie's had the chat. It's at home. History shows we get the even penalty counts at home, or usually win the penalty count. The penalty count's on our side and we complete well. Fit Nathan Cleary, who's after his sort of average performance for his standard in game 2 with that injury, he's played unbelievable last 2 weeks for Penrith. Nathan at his best, leading the way with his kicking game, and even possession with the penalty count. The forwards we got, I can see us having a field day. And obviously Shibasaki comes in. Mate, Latrell's going to be licking his lips with the ball, isn't he? Is he on that side? Yeah.
Yeah.
Latrell's going to be licking his lips. Great player, Shibasaki's earned his spot, but if you're comparing the two, I know I'm putting my money on. And
Shibasaki up against
he's up against Crichton. Fuck.
Yeah.
And on form, mate, he's handled it. He's been going great against everyone he's played against. But I'll tell you what, I think looking into the crystal ball, I think there's going to be a fair bit of ball movement, and Big Crichton will be calling super, which for the footy fans is usually the call when you want the ball in an NRL team. I reckon he'll be calling super every opportunity. I'd like to see him get the ball around midfield. We've seen in the first few games, New South Wales, our shifts in good ball from those post areas, especially that left, has been really, really good. Our centres haven't seen as much ball midfield, probably the way the situation of the games have gone. But if you can get Crichton one-on-one with Shibasaki, Latrell one-on-one with Rob Toya, and our middles marching down the middle of the field, mate, it's going to be a good day, I think, brother.
Give me a score prediction, man of the match and player of the series before I let you go.
I want to go Nathan Cleary because he was the best player on the field game one. If he gets the decider for the Blues, he'll be the best player for us. It'll be 2 big games for the series. He'll be man of the series. And I think Blues, I reckon it'll be tight for most of the game. We'll blow them out late. I'm thinking 26-16.
26-16.
What about you, Toddy?
I'm going to go Payne Haas, player of the series. I'm going to go man of the match tomorrow will be Wednesday will be Dylan Edwards.
And
it's
a good one, that.
The score will be 32-4 New South Wales.
Oh, I love it. Still calling the blowout.
Is that the penalty count,
Yeah.
32-4?
I think
the score.
That's the score. I think that's the score. 32-4.
He missed that joke, Gabe, didn't he?
Love it.
32-4.
I didn't miss the joke.
He just didn't find it funny.
No, that's right.
Who's bashed you, brah? Come on.
Like,
Who bashed you? Tell us.
No, well, I'll give a special shout out to Crawls from Valley. Always hooks me up some sunnies. I didn't get bashed. I actually got surgery. It was 2 months. The day after I got back from the Darling, Sydney, me and my sister got the same surgery done. We've both got black eyes. I can send you photos to show you proof. I didn't get bashed. If I was still on the piss.
So your sister bashed you.
Exactly.
Sweet. End of story. Back to New South Wales.
Thank you, mate. Yes, enjoy your time. To the footy nerds, we'll see you all again Thursday, talking all things Origin and to wrap up and talk about what's going to happen over round 19. But until then, get your popcorn ready, get your Maltesers ready, get your blue scarves on because New South Wales are coming. Go the Blues.
Go the Blues.